The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 420 of the Spanish Announce Table. We're not going to get too cheeky. We don't have like a weed theme or anything like that. All I will say is that one of us might have got really damn high before this episode, but maybe. That's a maybe, allegedly, and I won't say which Tom it is, so let's just keep rolling and get into some serious business, which is pro wrestling talk. Tom, before we get into that, I don't know if you saw this thing. Craziest thing happened. I caught it on the news. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if you saw that. Like, that's a thing. Isn't that fun?
Man, they have a tough game, Tim. They have a tough game.
I know they've got a tough game, but they're going to be in that tough game, which is something the Bengals cannot say, which is something the Bills cannot say.
Yeah, you do nothing fucking towns, Cincinnati and Buffalo. You know what the best thing about your towns are? That you lost to Kansas City and now you're relevant. You fucking losers. God, Jesus of Mary. Buffalo, New York disowns your bitch ass. And Cincinnati, your bitch ass doesn't even have a fucking airport. You have to go to Kentucky. And you know what's good in Kentucky? Fucking nothing. So that's what you're surrounded with, you fucking losers.
Yeah, we here at the Spanish Announce Table like to subscribe to a mantra that we call fuck the letter B, right? Bills.
Yeah.
Bengals. Browns.
Bob Backlund.
Bears.
Broncos.
Hey, the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but that's not here nor there, and that's not what we're here to talk about, but we will talk about that when they win the Super Bowl. And Tom, pro wrestling was fun this week. There was some fun stuff. There was some big-time stuff. We had a WWE Royal Rumble, and we have 3 Tweet the Tables. We've got some folks in the chat that want to talk about that. So we will get that out of the way, of course, and then we will spend the majority of our evening talking about the greatest show on wrestling television, AEW Dynamite. How excited are you for this episode of the Spanish Announce Table 420?
I really am excited. I'm excited to get your feedback on the Royal Rumble because some people thought it was the best show in the last 12 months, and those people are wrong, but I want to know what you think. And then also, I want to hear why actually the best wrestling match of the entire week happened on Dynamite and within the first 20 minutes. But we'll get to all those thoughts in a little bit. I am excited, as always, to talk to you, talk to the fans, hear from the fans, and then just rant about, men and women in their underwear play fighting, because that's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I am excited. So let's just hop into some Royal Rumble was this week, right? We had it Saturday, and we will not break it down chronologically, but coming out the gates, swinging out the gates, man, they had the men's Royal Rumble match, so I think that was a bit of a surprise, but then maybe we saw why, because there wasn't much to it, if we're being honest. But
here's the thing. Yeah, we'll get into the specifics, but this is how I honestly felt after the end of the event, the entire Royal Rumble special event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. It was a TikTok video that they stretched into 4 hours. The best thing about it was shorter than a TikTok video, but you had to watch for 4 hours to fucking get there. Like, that's the thing. I even told you the ending was incredible. It was awesome. All of the shit that I talked about this storyline with the Sami Zayn Roman Reigns thing was you kept just doing the same end result where it was like Roman might not trust Sami. Sami is conflicted, but now we pulled the trigger. So now the story advanced. That's awesome. And they did it in such an amazing way. I was more upset with the previous 3 weeks saying the same fucking thing, just different ways of saying it. That was awesome. Everything else, though, and completely honest, is forgettable. There's nothing there except for a piece of shit Mountain Dew match that is worth talking about.
And we will talk about that as well. And I honestly, for me, it was worse than forgettable because there are some things that I won't forget because of just either they were bad, they were dumb, etc. We'll cover it. We don't want to be too negative, but sometimes we're forced to be. And we're going to do that by using hashtag Tweet the Table. We encourage you to go onto Twitter. Follow us at Table Show. I'm at The Awesome Boys. He's at TMac_816. That's 816 is in Kansas City. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Woo!
And you can talk to us throughout the week. You can put whatever you want within the confines of a tweet and just talk wrestling with us, right? We'll read some here on the show. You can also join us live as we're doing this on YouTube, like Theo and Jeffrey Sills, who, by the way, I think we need to buy some more beer. I think he sent us some money to be the beer sponsor of the week again, if I caught that, if I'm not mistaken. Dude,
thank you, Jeffrey.
Amazing.
Got another one. Look at this.
Yeah,
right.
We got some now, but for next week, we got to go get some beers. Just join us live, chat with us there, meet some new friends, get some wrestling friends. But the first tweet the table, Tom, you ready for this one? This is a little fun. At Katie First Lady, she says, I've never seen Michael Cole this giddy to have Pat McAfee back. Hashtag Royal Rumble, hashtag tweet the table. So allegedly, as we hear on the news outlets, that Pat McAfee, he shows up to do commentary, and apparently the other announcers didn't even know as the show was starting. Which, that's fine.
I mean, well, and that also makes sense because his schedule is so compacted that if there's a delay with the show that he does Monday through Friday for whatever reason, that means he may miss a plane or miss something that connects him to the Royal Rumble. So, hey, let's not get everyone's notes in order that says Pat McAfee's here if he really can't make it. So I do actually buy that Michael Cole didn't know he was going to be there. Now, was it when the music hit? No. Was it an hour before the show started? Maybe. That's more likely than the music hits. Michael Cole is caught off guard from something that's happening at a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, right? Yeah. So that's what I think.
I will say that having Pat McAfee creates a much more or goes a long way to making it more enjoyable to watch WWE, at least. I won't say it's always an easy to enjoy to watch, but having Pat McAfee makes it a lot easier to enjoy it than not having Pat McAfee. So I was glad he's there, and maybe he'll stick around when the college football is done for a while. Maybe
I mean, I like Pat McAfee. I think he's good. I think sometimes it can be a little tiring. It's a little bit of a look at me, Louie. Like, we get it. You love the Nakamura song. Like, and it's fine. But after 6 weeks, you're like, okay, any other shit you want to say? I do like how he presses the limit, right? Excuse me. He was talking about, we don't call them the Banger Bros anymore. Why is that? Like, he would press the buttons on, hey, stop fucking bringing up these sore spots for us, right? But it was all tongue in cheek. Some of his gimmicks, though, it's like, just get to your match. Just pick a Corey Graves or whoever you're going to fucking fight next, and let's just get to that. I don't need you to be talking about the Usos and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's fine. I think his show's fine, too. It's a little bit long-winded as well, but I think he's overall pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a little over the top at times, but he's rarely doing something I think that is just overtly, like, really annoying. You know, sometimes he can borderline that, but other than that, it's generally lighthearted and fun.
Yeah,
a little tongue.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's
fun. I think he's fun guy.
Now, we mentioned that the Royal Rumble match the Royal Rumble event started with the Royal Rumble match on the men's side, which has, I don't know that that's ever happened. I'd have to go back and watch all the Royal Rumbles, but I'm not going to fact check. But very interesting here, and we'll talk very specifically about one person, maybe two, in that Royal Rumble match before we dive a little further with this next tweet the table that is from @Theo75, who's also live with us in the chat. What up, Theo? Says, Theo? He says, I felt that collision between Logan Paul and Ricochet. Ouch! Hashtag Royal Rumble. Hashtag tweet the table. So the Logan Paul shows up at the WWE. We would call that a surprise, right? Because I don't think he was listed, or maybe he was. I don't remember. But and then he does the spot with Ricochet that everybody's replaying, and there's a hot buzz video clip where they are standing on either side of the ring on the outside, and they both kind of jump up into a springboard off of the ropes and meet in the middle in a collision and fall to the ground, and the crowd goes wild. What'd you think of this spot?
I thought it was fine. I kind of thought, like, it was athletic in the sense that you have to jump and you can't miss. There's no pulling up on this type of a spot where you have to go 100% or you could really hurt yourself or also look stupid, right? But okay, the idea is to eliminate the guy over the top rope. So why would you jump back into the ring?
Yeah. So, well, here's an issue that I have with it that's kind of along some of the lines. And to me, it's like, okay, cool. Like, Yes, it's athletic. Yes, they collided and they fell, and it made this kind of lay there moment while the crowd goes off. So I won't knock that. Like, something that worked, I guess, right? You don't want to shit on them too much for that. But to me, again, we've talked about how we don't like, say, the more overly acrobatic spot fest style of wrestling that's typical with sort of the younger crowd, right? Because it just goes too far past that sort of valley of believability, right? We all know this is a performance and that we're watching theater, but I want to be able to act as if, right? I want to buy into the story. So here I am now watching this thing that I'm wanting to, in the moment, forget is not real and believe. And I see two guys on the outside of the ring, and they both leap towards each other and hit each other. So, okay. I guess I can understand maybe the context that both of you are like, all right, we're going to do this and jump at each other and see who hits first. But like, if you didn't think the other guy was jumping as well, it really makes no sense, because why would you just leap all the way in there, not make it, fall flat on your face and look like a dumbass? Or for the more important aspect of the unbelievability of this is, it's the Royal Rumble. If you're outside the ring and your 2 feet touch the floor and you went over the top rope initially, right, that's how you got out there, you're eliminated, which again, to understand that both of these guys did that, right? They went over the top rope to get on the outside, or maybe they didn't.
I would think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But even if they went out through the middle, they're in this instance where if they jump up, you've got a springboard. If anybody's nearby, all they got to do is whoop, give you, run over there and give you a little, Russian leg sweep with a hand, right? And then you're outside the ring and eliminated. So again, the risk for thinking you're going to jump all the way across the ring and possibly punch a guy in the face seems just a little too much for me to buy into, right? All credit to Logan Paul and Ricochet, because again, it's impressive that you guys did it, but it just, it was like none of it made sense, Again, that's another thing too. We talk about moves don't matter, and yes, you and I couldn't probably go up to a wrestling ring and accomplish that nearly as well or at all, but I got to think 90% of the folks on that roster could. I might eliminate, Otis, but you know what I mean? Like most of the folks probably could.
Yeah, AJ Styles and let's just use AJ Styles and
Finn
Gunther.
Balor.
I bet you can do it. Finn Balor. I bet you Gunther can do it. I bet you and also, I don't get what the move was.
Right. They belly flopped each other.
But why? What did you think?
Exactly. But why? What was your purpose? What was your plan of attack? What was your offensive mindset?
Yeah, it wasn't to pin him, because you can't pin him.
Right.
I would understand it if it was a match where you're like, we're going to do this. I think I'm going to get the lariat over him. Yep. He's going to fall and I'm going to pin him. But I don't know. It was fine. It was something that made you go, oh shit, what was that? And you maybe replayed it if you're drinking a beer or looking away from the TV. You know what I mean?
Jeffrey Sills in the chat says Gunther is the only shining light of the Rumble. Now he set a new record for length in the Rumble. And I do want to give credit when that's due, when somebody spends a long time in the Rumble, because it's a long time of athletic behavior. However, he didn't run around for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? We've called this the Royal Rest Hold over the years for a reason, right? Now, yeah. I mean, it's similar to playing pickup ball, where you might sit one game out and go back in. It's still cardio, right? Gunther's got to have a lot of cardio to go out there and do this. To me, the more impressive thing is, hey, you got to keep it on, right? You're on camera. You got to be in character for an hour plus, when really it's all the same thing. Pretend like I'm throwing this guy over, right? To kind of keep coming up with things to do or remember spots that you're supposed to be in. That to me is the more impressive thing. So I'll give him his credit due for there. And Gunther he's right. Jeffrey Sills even said on that spot that we were talking about with Logan Paul and Ricochet, he said Gunther intercepts them with a chop next time. See, that would have been cooler, right? If Gunther would have been whap them out of the air. But yeah, so props to Gunther. Well,
let me correct you on the fact. It's Walter. It's Walter.
Well, it's Walter. Yes.
We're not fucking calling Gunther.
Yeah, all right. Well, so Walter. Hey, you know what I mean? Walter, to his credit, has refined his game. He's got a very understandable character. It's very straightforward. What would be the next story? If you got to take Walter to now, hey, we're going to get you this IC title off you, and now we're going to put you in the big time. I just don't know what the story is.
Well, you don't do it now. I think you have him have the IC title for WrestleMania. Have him. What I would do, this would be the funnest thing, because, excuse me again. What I would do let's have some fucking real fun here. Austin Theory in the United States title, fucking go wrestle John Cena for that. Ain't no one give a shit. Do an open challenge at WrestleMania. John Cena shows up. There's your match. For the IC title, let's do big men slapping meat. Let's do Walter versus Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Those three fucking guys in the match, just hitting each other as hard as they fucking can. That's what I would do at WrestleMania.
So honestly, Jeffrey Sills in the chat real quick said, speaking of Gunter, and then later he said, my bad, Walter, he's not going to wrestle Brock, or should I say Brock ain't taking those chops. I bet Brock would. I bet Brock would get in there and mix it up.
I bet you if he found out something about his background, where if Walter was a D1 wrestler or something like that was like, oh, you're legitimate, then he would. But if it's like, oh, you're just a fat kid that just likes wrestling, I ain't taking that shit.
I bet he'd trade a chop for a suplex. He'd be like, hey, every time you chop me, I'm fucking I'm belly back suplexing you. And that would be fun. Honestly, I would watch that.
Yeah. And honestly, the only thing that, not the only thing, but the thing that I felt was the most memorable was not from the men's match. I thought the kudos tip of the cap goes to Chelsea Green for coming back in your re-debut where you think you're going to get, and she got some cheers, right? And all of that stuff just to get bushwhackered and you're already out. I thought credit to you for fucking doing that on your return to WWE. Right? Yeah. Like,
love it.
I thought she was the best part of the whole.
Well, and that's going to be the gimmick too. I don't know if you caught, there was like a post match little interview where it definitely she's Karen. A fun character there. Yeah.
She's Karen now. Yeah. She's a Karen.
Oh, that's good.
Also though, here's again, where if you don't know, you don't know, you don't know kind of thing. Walter comes in at number 1. Cody comes in at 30. And then when it's the two of them, if you don't know shit about you're saying, I want Walter to win. Like, this guy's been here since 1. But the says we want Cody. And it's like, not in this match, maybe tomorrow night, but like, I want Walter to win this because he's been in it for an hour and 10 minutes or whatever. So I even think that was stupid. I just didn't.
You know what else was stupid?
Cody?
Rey Mysterio never appeared, and we didn't get any explanation. I think it's implied that Dominic beat him up, but they never show that. So Rey's flight didn't get there in time or something, right? Like something happened backstage that we're not privy to, but it's still a weird way to write it. They still didn't, you know what I mean? Nothing filled that. I just don't get why they don't, if I'm running an operation, I'm to believe WWE runs these matches like you have alternates ready, right? If 24 ain't there, hey, whoever we had lined up for 31 goes in.
Right. So maybe you do, maybe you don't, because if you recall 2019, I believe it was, Lana gets hurt. She injures her ankle. Becky Lynch walks down. Hey, put me in the match. Okay, there isn't a spot filled, so you go ahead. That's the thing. If you're going to tell me 30 people are competing, I don't give a fuck that number 24 is this. If 24 doesn't get in the ring or number 10 doesn't get in the ring, there's not 30 people they are facing the winner or 29, the winner. So like, that's where, again, show me, like you said, Dominic Mysterio is over Rey Mysterio. He takes his mask off. Rey puts
even if Rey's not on site, you could have a stunt double in there.
Well, I'm just saying, like, put it, are you saying like he really couldn't show up?
Yeah, I think maybe he didn't get there on time. I don't know. Maybe they were just like, fuck it. I don't know.
But like, then have him walk down and have Adam again. I know it's wrestling and sometimes the rules matter and sometimes they don't. And it's kind of dictating on the story. Yeah, but this is a boilerplate or boilerplate match each and every year. It shouldn't be fucking hard to follow this rule because it only happens once a goddamn year.
Yeah. We couldn't throw Dolph Ziggler in there if Rey Mysterio,
he did.
If the storyline is Rey Mysterio gets beat up. No, he wasn't this year. I think that ended a streak.
Did it? I thought he was in there. That was it. Here's the other thing that kind of
not fact checking, but that's what I read online earlier. So sorry.
Okay. Here's the other thing that I didn't like about this year Royal Rumble, and it was exactly how last year's was, which I was at, is don't put in the Street Profits. Don't put in these tag teams where we know a fucking tag team guy isn't going to win. If you're going to put a tag team guy in next year, 2024, that person better win the fucking thing. If it's Montez Ford
That's what I'm saying.
because,
or come very close to then start getting the storyline of like, oh man, are they meant for bigger things? And then the tag team partner's like, hey, why didn't you tell me you were in the Rumble, fucker? Right? Like, just something like that.
But when they're tag teams, it's like, well, we know they're out.
Exactly.
Like they're
right.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
And,
So
and I also saw
right.
in the chat. Well, and I also saw in the chat the Kofi spot. Yeah, that is played out like Jinko jeans.
2 years in a row they fucked it up.
Well, he fucked it up.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. Yeah, stop doing it. Yeah, I agree. It's played out, and I'm done with that. All right, Cody wins. Cody wins, and man, we get the Codyest of Cody speeches on Monday to just, dude, I don't know what the fascination is. I see people talking about how great he is and how much they love him and how much they love his promos, and I don't get why, because everything sounds like a personal therapy session, Tim. It sounds like he's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough. He sounds so desperately like he wants to be loved. Like the daddy never gave him the love he wanted, and he wants so desperately to be accepted. And it just, man, I almost feel bad for the guy. I don't feel like he's babyface. You know what I mean? It's because it's not intended, right? Like we felt bad for Hangman over on AEW Dynamite during his downtimes because that was the intended emotion that they were telling with the story.
Mm-hmm.
But here he's supposed to be Mr. All-American, and we all love him. And I just don't get it. I don't know what it is, but he's the guy. Is he the guy to unseat Roman? I know we have this Sami thing we're going to talk about here in a second, but is it Cody?
Well, so here, no, I don't. So this is my theory. Let's just talk about it at the end, right? Cody wins, Sami Zayn, all of that happens, right? I believe, again, now the rules will matter. You must defend both championships. And if it's not going to be for both of them, then you must face one person on one night and then the other person on the second night. And that's where I think he beats Cody, loses to Sami Zayn. That title goes to Raw. This title stays on SmackDown. Then we're getting the two titles separated.
Sami and Roman get one match in or something as a title. But
exactly.
Then, you're right. Then it's separated from there.
Right. So that's how I think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Will Cody win? I don't give a fuck, really, to be honest with you, because he's just bland. That's my thing, is he says all of the things that Hogan said in the 80s, except for Hogan was way cooler. Like, let's just be honest. And I don't give a fuck about Terry Bollea.
Look, if we put Cody on cocaine, he might be cooler.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm not talking about Terry Bollea. I'm talking about the character Hulk Hogan.
Of course.
Hulk Hogan was fucking cool in the 80s and early 90s. And then he was really cool as NWO. But anyhow, Cody is just fucking the only time he's cool is when he's a dickhead to someone else. If you recall AEW, I thought his best feud was with Chris Jericho when he called Chris Jericho out on his bullshit when Jericho was saying to Cody that he was born with a silver spoon. And he's like, oh, isn't that rich? You were born from a rich hockey player in New York. Like, aren't we feeding from the same spoon? It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
When he wants to be like that dickhead and peel the curtain back a little bit, cool. But when he wants to cure racism and fucking talk about his dad and shit, miss me with it. It's fucking boring.
Jeffrey Sills in the chat says Cocaine Cody would be great. And oh man, that would be great. Now,
Cocaine
the thing with Cody is I struggled, thinking about the show, preparing notes as we rigorously do for weeks on, days on end prior to the show. I struggled with this idea of like, look, I know I'm not behind Cody like everybody else is. And I didn't want to call him fake because it's still, to me, he feels genuine, but he just feels genuinely, like I said, like he desperately wants to be loved, right? Or that he's trying to uphold an image that he thinks he's supposed to live up to. Or that he has this out of touch, unaware vision of himself that comes from maybe a place of privilege. You know what I mean? Like it just feels genuinely not it, man. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like he's genuine, but just like that he's out of touch. He doesn't quite get it. And he's just really trying to be something really hard that I don't, you know what I mean? It just doesn't feel right.
And you know what that's called? Being corny. He's fucking corny.
Yeah, he is
like
corny.
That's what he is. It's genuine. I think he feels all of the emotions that he's expressing when he says that the Rhodes family went up against the WWE, and now look at it, Rhodes is going to be main eventing WrestleMania. I think he gets emotional about that. What I would return by saying is that's fucking a dork.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You
Jeffrey Sill says,
with-
well, he says it seems like he wants people to like him, but he doesn't know how to. I think that's a great way to say it.
Yeah, because he's corny. Like, that's the thing.
Corny.
Like, that's what a cornball is, right?
Right.
People who are like, hey, and you just go like, there's something about you. I just don't, they're not it.
Inviting Cody Rhodes out to play like pool and shoot some darts at the bar. Can you imagine how uncomfortable that situation would be?
I think he's fine one-on-one. I think it's when he has attention.
But that's what I mean. Like, if it was a crowded bar and he's there, like, it would just, I don't know. He'd be there in a 3-piece suit for some reason, right? And he would just, he'd have a new neck tattoo or something. It's just like, man, guy, I don't know. Just, whatever. He looks great on the side of a semi rolling down the road.
Doesn't.
Oh, they love the fucking blonde hair Americana guy. Yeah, they fucking love that.
No one does. No one's getting that neck tattoo. Their hair.
Apparently, people fucking love him. It's all over. People talk about how great his fucking promos are and his goddamn.
No, Tim, you're being lied to. This is what I've told everyone since the dawn of time. It's WWE will say, cheer this. And everyone who's just general fan will go, okay. Or families that say, my kid will like this. So, okay. No one actually fucking likes Cody.
Jeffrey Sills with the perfect analogy. He says he's just like Russell Wilson. He wants to be liked, but no one does. Yeah. Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Very perfect. Very perfect. All right. So we had the main event match. Kevin Owens gets beat by Roman Reigns, and then the bloodline implodes. They handcuff Kevin Owens. They're beating the shit out of him, right? Then he's like, you beat the shit out of him, Sammy, and that's where Sammy can't do it anymore. Gives Roman the very Shield-esque chair to the back. And then we also get the little bonus thing of Jay being like, fuck this, I'm out. Jay Uso even is like, y'all, fuck this.
Oh,
so the bloodline disintegrates.
Well, we got so much here. This is why I thought this was probably their best segment that they've done in recent memory. Not better than AEW stuff, but nonetheless, up there. It's up there with some of the best AEW stuff. This is why I love this whole segment. Yes, Roman Reigns says, all right, this fat piece of shit, we beat him, but I don't think he's going to leave. So we're going to really take him out because I'm tired of seeing him next week on SmackDown. I'm tired of seeing him at the next pay-per-view. Like, we're going to get rid of this guy. He's a thorn in my ass, right? So the bloodline come down, and that's their objective. Get rid of this fucking person. We beat him. Now we want to get him out of the whole promotion, right? We want to incapacitate him and end his career so he never comes back. So that's what they're doing. Boom, 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 boom. But Sami Zayn has the realization of, one, it's my friend, but two, like, dude, we won. Like, this is beneath us, which is what he kept on saying to Roman. This is beneath you. Like, we're just picking on people now for no reason. I mean, that's when Roman says, you're right. Hey, this is when you earn your stripes, right? Like, you've always been wanting to be a part of us thing. This is what we do. So now go do it. And then when Sammy turns on him, this is when the magic happens. Because the first thing that I fucking love about it is the way that Sami Zayn hits Roman Reigns. Because if Roman Reigns, again, turns his back on someone he trusts, that person stabs the knife in his back. So now Roman has a real truth to be like, fuck Sami Zayn.
But it also indicated that Roman did trust him. That's what it indicated. Right. He did turn his back to him.
And here's the thing. So he gets hit, right? So he trusts him. So here is his truth. Because the best stories and when everyone has a truth that you all believe. Roman says, this motherfucker I gave everything to. You know what he was doing before the bloodline? Wrestling fucking Mustafa Ali on main event.
Looking like Che Guevara.
This guy. Right. Like, this fucking asshole. Why did he do this? Right. But then when Jimmy goes, you fucking dickhead. Like, I've got to take you out because, like, you're disobeying our orders. Like, this is what we do. So he kicks him. When he falls, though, this is the detail that I love. He kicks him and Sami Zayn falls. You see Roman Reigns with his hands in his head as if he's been, like, disowned. He is personally feeling remorse because Sami was given the opportunity and he chose the wrong option. And God damn it, I think, if this is the story, I think Roman really did like Sami Zayn.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And so it wasn't this like, well, we never liked him. It's fuck, man. You really had the chance to be one of us and you said no.
Yeah,
and then when
almost
Jimmy,
as if Roman was doing all this so that the other guys would be convinced in the end, right? Like putting him through these tests and these narratives so that like it would give Sami the chance to show them over and over again. And now he's like, but now you failed.
Well, yeah, it would give the chance in Roman's eyes, I believe, to have everyone
show
believe
everyone
that
else.
he's an Uso.
Yes,
so
exactly.
that Kevin Owens, when he goes, hey, you're not really an Uso, Roman Reigns is like, did you not see what we did to you at the Royal Rumble? Like that was the chance to be that person. Now we go to Jimmy. Jimmy sees this, and I believe what Jimmy's mixed emotions were, you really are that guy that was there for us in every situation that we needed you, Sami. You were really that person. But you fucking fucked us. You did this. You really stabbed us in the back. And then when Jimmy and all of them are beating him up, he goes, I can't do it because he made the wrong decision, but he doesn't need to pay like this. And so that's when he's out. He just takes himself out of the situation. Perfect.
Oh,
I love all of this.
I loved all of it. Yeah, it was done very well. We've been asking for it, right? We've been saying, like, you guys keep doing the same thing. But so now they finally delivered on something. We see Sami Zayn on social media throwing out all his Bloodline memorabilia and all of that stuff. So this should be a cool story. Again, moving forward, we'll see if they move at a quicker pace with the next details or whatnot.
Here's the question, though, that I have is in the midst of all of that, Sami Zayn falling down, being knocked out, Roman Reigns being upset that Sami picked the wrong thing, Jimmy being conflicted because he also loves his family. Kevin Owens is sitting there, fat as could be, knocked out, handcuffed. What does he do? Does he just go to Sami Zayn and was like, hey, bud, let's give a hug. Like, thanks for not having Roman kill me or not killing me yourself. Or does he go, you motherfucker, I told you, and now you want me to be your friend? You were beating me up last week on SmackDown. Fuck you.
I think it would be very typical of Kevin Owens to do the first thing you said, which at least at first is going to be like, oh no, I mean the second thing where he was like,
oh yeah,
where he's like, nah, I told you, fuck you, right? Like it's way more typical of Kevin Owens to put a distance there. But again, what is the ultimate story here? Are we telling the ultimate Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn friendship story here, or are we telling the Sami Zayn conquers all story here, which I think is the better story?
Or are we closing up the whole Bloodline story and Jay takes out Roman?
Oh yeah,
Jay is who started this.
So I heard somebody float the idea that one by one they all turn on Roman, right? Like they all, like Jay's out, then Jimmy's out, then Paul is out, or Solo's out, right? Like everything starts falling apart and now Roman's left with nothing, right? Like that would be a cool story, right? Roman did all this, like he did all this gaslighting and all of this manipulation to just one by one they all go, no, this ain't it, right? And then even if they aren't liking each other right away, right? It's just nobody's there to help protect Roman anymore, and he's left exposed.
I like that idea. I like the idea more of Jay is the one. So the chink in the armor comes from Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is the one who exposed the real truth and shined the light on what Roman really is. But it's Jay who got put into this situation in the first place that said, no, now we're strong enough. Now we're good. You're done. And it's Jay. That's who I think. If I was writing this fucking storyline, Sami Zayn loses, Cody loses, all those fucking people lose.
It all started with Jay
Uso. That's what I'm saying. Jay Uso beats Roman.
Main event Jay.
And he can lose it in a month, right? Like it's not like he needs a 7
Yeah, I mean he could have a Kofi run. Main event Jay Uso. This is how the Bloodline storyline started, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It was Roman Reigns gaslighting Jay Uso. Theo P 75 in the chat here reminds you, he says, come on, T-Mac, be a star. Stop calling Kevin Owens fat.
But he is. I'm not being mean. He is fat. Have him go to the doctor. Ask him the doctor what he is. He's fucking fat. Like,
all right. We have one other.
I didn't call him dumb.
We have one other tweet the table that we need to talk about this Royal Rumble and something that happened here. You ready for this one? You got your drink ready? Mm-hmm. All right. It's from Mr. Fourth Row, who says, I'll defiantly, defiantly, I don't know if he meant definitely, but he said, I'll defiantly drink to this pitch black match. Hashtag tweet the table. Oh, the defiantly. Mountain Dew pitch black. I think it's defiantly. Oh, yeah. The Mountain Dew pitch black match. Tom, we kept talking about it in spooky context, and I guess maybe they tried to deliver on some of that, but it was all a blacklight match. It was all just a blacklight match. It was two guys fighting under a blacklight, or two fellas had a few too many drinks at Cosmic Bowling, and they started throwing some rounds. Like, that's what this was?
Yeah. This felt like more of a match that would fit Mojo Rawley than it did fucking The Fiend. Seriously,
the Stay Hyped like match. It should have been the Stay Hyped match. Yes, it could have been. That's fucking a college Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley. Yeah.
Like that's who that match should have been for. Here's again, we've said this till we're blue in the face, and I'll say it one more time just because I feel like it needs to be said. This again is the fucking difference between AEW and WWE. AEW, when they do corporate synergy, they'll have the elite who are douchebag heels do the Space Jam intro because Space Jam the movie comes out on DVD or in theaters this week, and there'll be obnoxious heels that do the Space Jam layups and jump shots and bullshit, and it's tongue-in-cheek, and you're like, well, that would make sense why these douchebags would do that. When WWE has corporate synergy, they do the Mountain Dew pitch black match, which is fucking insulting to everyone's intelligence. It's so stupid.
Well, and we were all supposed to be shocked and feel eerie when Bray Wyatt put on a neon mask. Is that really the story they're trying to tell us, right? Like, is that what they literally were? Because the announcers act like, oh my God, what is going? He put a fucking mask on. By the way, the guy has always worn masks. Like, what are we talking about here? And then Uncle Howdy missed an elbow.
In. Yeah, like, that is. I'll forgive that because that's live.
I think that was on the cameraman. I think he was never supposed to hit him. The cameraman was supposed to stay below the barrier. Yes,
that's like when Chris Jericho did the blood and guts and they got the wrong shot. Like, that's not on them. That's just on the. If they could do a take two, they would do a take two. So I don't even really get on them for that. But the mask, I think, was supposed. Again, this is for the people. Like, there's a TikTok account that we follow or they follow us, and I see some of their things. And this fucking guy is like, so this week's Bray Wyatt thing is if you saw the number 14 in the corner when he was walking down. So this is what it means, Alexa Bliss and all that. And it's just like, that's what that's for when the mask is put on. It's because it means something significant to bootlickers who like this shit. And that's fine. But it's fucking boring. It's fucking boring, and it's not good.
All I'm saying,
aren't you glad? I said this on Twitter. Aren't you glad? I'm being dead fucking serious because the budgets are way off. Aren't you glad that Bray Wyatt didn't go to AEW?
Oh, yes.
Because this would be done.
Oh my God, so much.
This would be done on such a lower budget.
Yeah, I wanted. Jeffrey Sill said, I thought the worms being projected into the ring was bad. This was absolutely worse than that. I asked Tom this the night of in a video message directed to him. I said, in the ratings of Bray Wyatt, like, sucks, where did this pitch black match rate? Was it above or below the bugs on a ring match, which is what we've called this for years now? And you think the bugs on a ring is still the worst. And I kind of agree because that's literally all it was. It was like bugs on a ring and that's it.
Yeah, that at least with Eli Drake, or not Eli Drake, Jesus Christ, LA Knight, when he lost and he got put over there, like, that is spooky, right? The elbow and then the fucking creatures. That's how the match should have ended. The match shouldn't have ended with just a squash match because that's all it was. That's also what made it lame. But the fucking bugs. I mean, Jesus Christ, you know how many times you've been around pyro Randy Orton? Like, this is supposed to fucking scare you. I would say this is what I do. Top three worst Bray Wyatt matches off the top of my head. Number one still is that fucking Hell in the Cell that ended in DQ with Seth Rollins. How a fucking Hell in the Cell ends in a DQ, I will never fucking understand. That's one. That's 1, 2, and 3, honestly, but that's one. 2 would be the bugs, because who the fuck, what in the, we were never told that Randy Orton had a phobia of bugs. We all know what a projector is. Yeah, and he didn't have a phobia of it, so I don't know why he would even be scared of it in the first place. Yeah. And then 3 would be this, because it was just corporate nonsense, stupidity squash match. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I just, man, I will say this. The next time I see a kendo stick, it better be neon yellow, or else I'm gonna riot.
Or next time the announce table, someone goes through it, I want green beans to go all the fucking place.
Again, like how all right, you're telling the story of Bray Wyatt, and then independently you're like, all right, well, listen, we're going to do this Mountain Dew pitch black match where the whole thing's done under a black light, when like he already used to wrestle under a red light. So like, why is this any fucking different?
It's dumb. It's just, it's not good. None of it is good. It's old people trying to be cool and taking corporate money as a cash grab. Soulless pricks. That's what that company is.
Yeah.
What did you like? What did you like from Royal Rumble? If there's one thing I could say, you get to take it away. It's the moment of the night. Is it the Sami Zayn?
Probably, yeah.
What's second? What would you say is second? I'm just curious.
I really don't even remember anything that I really liked out of it. There were some spots that I remember like thinking in the moment. I was like, that was good, but I can't even name them now. So I don't know.
Rhea Ripley winning the women's Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, we didn't discuss that. I do. Especially if I am a fan of the Judgment Day as fucking with somebody's competitor, right? Like one of their members' opponent. So if we get more of that now in the women's division, that'll be fine. I just, she's fine, as good as any. They've been running this Bianca Belair thing to the death, and now they've lost Sasha. So now, like, maybe, time to build up somebody else in this kind of upper tier, I guess.
I agree, but she called out Charlotte Flair for WrestleMania. Now they've done it once, and it was in the empty arena, whatever we're calling that thing.
Yeah.
So it was no fans.
She did call out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that goes. I don't know that they would. I don't get the feel they're ready to put her over Charlotte Flair at Mania.
I do. I think it's the white version of Sasha and Bianca. It's the white girl version of Sasha and Bianca.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've got the more athletic, muscle-bound, younger version of you, right? Little hipper, little cooler, little newer, right?
Yeah, so there it is. We're going to go with her then. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Listen, your knees you're starting to have to wear knee braces, and so it's time to think about what's next. Hey, listen, It's like the NFL, right? We got to, you're only the starting halfback for so long, right?
What else happened on the Royal Rumble? I'm trying to think. So they got the matches.
Asuka came back in her crazy.
That was such a letdown. If you're gonna fucking do the crazy fucking mask, win the goddamn thing, because you just came out and did fucking the same thing that everyone else did.
Yeah, because here's what's gonna happen is now she's just gonna be a little more evil version of what we've known, right? Like whatever she was over in Japan, and Jeffrey Sills is saying Ascana, maybe that was her name over there. I don't know. I don't know much about Japan. But so if now think of what happened with what?
That should be the title of this. I don't know much about Japan.
I don't know much about Japan. I just like remember when the Demon was signing with NXT and WWE, and everybody was excited for the Demon and all of his characters, or Finn Balor's all of his characters and all of his cosplay and all of that, and then they boiled it down to one that he did over and over and over again and made him that character. That's what this is going to feel like, right? Even if she was something cool over there in Japan, she's going to be a Cody Rhodes version of that here.
Oh, she's already doing the Muda ripoff where like goo is falling from her face as she talks to people backstage.
Pretty soon they'll have her pulling almost Gold Dust-esque comedy segments in the back with it.
Yeah, she'll be the boogeyman doing worms and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so dumb.
Asuka is the boogeyman. Yes.
Yeah, it's just, if you're going to do that, don't do it at the Rumble if you're not going to win the Rumble. Like, do it, lose, then say, what's next for Asuka? Then Asuka can come out with the crazy mask, take out Carmella or, Liv Morgan, someone like that. And then you're like, okay, well, now we're on to something. But, you did it, and you were nothing different than anyone else in that fucking match. And you lost. Like, who fucking cares?
Who cares? So, I don't know. You got anything else about the Royal Rumble before we move on to AEW Dynamite? We did forget to kind of bring this up. The genius, Lanny Poffo, passed away.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's definitely... That one is hard because he was also... So first off, he's one of the first early heels I remember.
Yes.
The genius and the fucking cartwheel, the and the script and the reading and all that. He's one of the early ones. Him with Mr. Perfect, all of that shit. So that's one. Second, though, is towards the end of his life, when he was doing interviews, he was almost like the Macho Man historian. So now we're not even going to get insight into Macho Man anymore like we were when he was telling those stories. So obviously, I'm again speaking more as a fan. It's kind of a double hit because he was a great heel. He was entertaining. He was a good storyteller. And then also he gave you good insight on what was Macho Man really feeling when he went to WCW, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
If Lanny Poffo had died first, Macho Man was such a closely guarded person, we would have never known half the stuff that we got in documentaries and stuff. Like none of it. Yeah.
About either guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, it is sad, and it's the end of a wrestling family that was at one point, kind of a big deal. And I mean, it just
down in Memphis, all three of them, dad and the two brothers, big time.
Yeah. So, and you're right. I mean, if we're talking about childhood and my really young days, first watching wrestling, like one of the first heels that was just very heel. And another guy that I liked a whole lot was Damian Sandow in the day, and I think that's because he kind of reminded me of that kind of presentation of a pompous, arrogant, kind of better than you guy. And I mean, he was one of the best at it. I did love Damian Sandow. In that iteration of Damian Sandow coming in was good stuff. That was the best he ever did. It was the best stuff he ever produced anywhere since that day. But it was good then. It was very good.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. So, okay. So rest in peace, Lanny Poffo. We send our thoughts and prayers to the family or friends thereof. But we will move on to talk about the best show in wrestling television. AEW.
Yeah, and let's kick it off with honestly, I don't know, this is arguable. Wolf, I'll get your take after we recap everything, but this could have been the match of the week, including all the Royal Rumble stuff. We kick off with Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. First off, the thing that I thought was interesting is we really wanted to make sure that in Dayton, Ohio, Jon Moxley's the babyface. We love Hangman, but on this night, Jon Moxley's bringing out his dad. He's coming from underneath to attack Hangman first. He's doing all the babyface things that you do to make sure, hey, cowboy shit's cool, but tonight, let's make this a Moxley night. So what did you think about that start to the match?
Like that, right? You expect that homegrown flair. AEW does that quite a bit when they go to those strategic towns that are very vocal. And, I mean, you put an Ohio guy in front of Ohio people, and they will lose their mind, right? So they really decided to, like you said, hammer that home, right? Wave that flag, and it worked. And this was a key point to this match, is it really gave a kind of grimy, dirty aspect to the Hangman, right? We got him like, hey, no, I fucking don't like this guy. And that's what these guys pulled off really well, especially as we move on and start talking about the ending of the match. They really pulled off this idea that, like, these guys are just never going to like each other, and to the point where, like, they want to fight at all times.
And so this was knockdown, drag out fight. One of the things that I thought was the most interesting, and I can't remember if this happened before, But John Moxley kicked out of the Buckshot Lariat. I don't think anyone's done that in AEW. Now, again, I could be wrong. Maybe it was a Kenny Omega. Maybe it was a Chris Jericho. But to the best of my knowledge, that's never really happened. So that I thought was interesting. The second thing is they were legitimately, like in the story, trying to knock each other out, right? But then the match ends with Hangman doing the Bulldog choke to Moxley and then Moxley countering that for a pin. And it felt like instantly neither guy really liked that they right. Moxley didn't like that he won that way. And Hangman definitely didn't like that he lost that way.
They both wanted to knock each other out. And I think that was kind of part of the anger from both of them is Hangman's like, no, this isn't how this is ending. One of us isn't getting up and walking away. And that's what he wanted to keep going. And I think Moxley would have if, again, his Blackpool Combat Club folks who, again, weren't there to help Bryan Danielson later in the show, but somebody else had to come help.
Well,
him,
and Bryan Danielson wasn't out there to separate
wasn't there
Moxley and Hangman.
But I like that, and I even like that Hangman was like, "No, fuck you guys too." He wasn't, doing the heel powder out. Oh my God, 4 guys thing or 3 guys or whatever it is. He was in there, fucking throwing birds and shoving them, and even Cesaro had to be like, "Dude, you really want to fucking do?" You know what I mean? Like, watch yourself, little man. I liked all of this. It was done so well, so believable, and even Moxley like trying to get through and mush him in the face. It's like, no, fuck you too, right? Like the whole Ezekiel Tony TikTok comes to mind, right? Where these guys are just like, "Fuck you, yeah, fuck you too," right? Like, I love all of this, all of it.
Yeah, I liked at the end when Moxley wanted to be like, I still got cardio, and he did Snow Angels. Yes. So then Hangman did a burpee and then flipped him off. Like, I got fucking cardio too, asshole.
Bloody burpees. Like really... We've talked about this before. We had an episode title called Bloody Burpees. Everybody loves a bloody burpee. You really get going when you do that.
So here's the question. Neither guy seems satisfied. Moxley won, so he likes that he won. But again, he kind of feels like maybe that was cheap, right? And then Hangman definitely hated it. What's the conclusion? Are we getting... I said on Twitter at Table Show while I was live tweeting, I think this has to be a last man standing. I don't think you should have a knockout match, but a last man standing it's at
supposed
Revolution.
To be what that is.
That is. Well, and here's where they're, I think, going to do it fucking better than those yahoos up in Connecticut, is it's not going to be who can trap them underneath as many fucking things to where they can't get up. It's going to be like, no, this person's out. Unconscious.
Who can bury him under the Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, bury him under the cowboy hats. Who can do it first? Yeah, it's not gonna be that shit. It's gonna be like a legit. That's what I think. A last man standing. What do you think? How do you?
No, I think that too, and I think that's gonna be the sell from Hangman is gonna be like, no, I came to knock you out. And that was your goal too. So you might have won the match, but you didn't accomplish your goal. Like, you know what I mean? Matt, whatever. Like, you didn't do the thing you were going to do. And you had to take the cheap way out and pin me instead of knock me out because you can't, right? And he's poking him in the chest. And then maybe even he throws him one and knocks him out right then and there, right? And now we've got Hangman laying on the floor. Moxie's like, all right, you're on. We'll do this last man standing match at Revolution or whatever the next thing is. Is it Revolution? I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like that. That's a good idea. I mean, that's what I think it's going to, because you can't say it's a knockout match because it doesn't sell well to, advertisers, stuff like that.
Or
so I think it has to be
exploding barbed wire death match.
I mean, do that again. Hey, they did it great. That was a fucking amazing match.
Explosion
bullshit carded.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. Everything about that was an A+. The
story was great.
And then it was an F for the fucking execution. Yeah. Okay, so then we go backstage. The Bunny challenges Jamie Hayter, but before we can even wrap up the segment, Renee Paquette's like, hey, wait a minute, what's that? Can we put this on the TV? Which I thought was cool. Like, hey, we're going to look at this now. And you see Jamie Hayter looking at the screen where it's Saraya and Tony Storm beating up Britt Baker.
Full heel now.
And then does this mean Britt Baker is full baby face?
I think so. So
no.
We also, I love the Butcher and the Blade. Anytime we can get them on TV, cool. And so I was getting excited for this, and we'll probably still get that, right? We'll get the Bunny, it's Jamie Hayter, and we'll get the Butcher and the Blade. But I really, we got to work them. I wouldn't mind them having a thing against the Acclaim.
Yes,
after we're done with the ass boys
team.
Here. Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll get to that, but
But yeah, I think we'll get more into Baker later with what happens later in the show too. But yeah, I think this is nearing the end of the turn for the flip for both of them. Like Baker's going to be full face here. Saray and Tony Storm are already being full heels now at this point, right? I mean, they're shit talking into the camera, beating somebody up. So
yeah. It's interesting. It was pretty quick, but I do like it because it wasn't wasting time. It was like, we all know what we're getting at, so let's just do it now.
Jeffrey Sills said Jamie Hayter versus Emi Sakura on Rampage, 5 fire emojis, and he is right. That thing was a fight. I don't know if you saw that one. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I love it. It was great. It wasn't as good as Hikaru Shida, but that's just me splitting hairs.
Well,
but it was very good.
It was good.
Yes, very good. So then we go back into the ring. Acclaimed versus Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. Who? Pretty great names.
I like them. Yeah, I like them. They were good.
But here's my question. I don't get. So the Acclaim come down. Max Caster does his rap. He calls them 80 fucking cornballs or whatever.
Yeah. Talks about Tom Brady retiring.
Yeah, right.
Again.
But why would Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum scissor?
Oh, because I think they were just look how stupid you guys look, and they were just making fun of the gimmick, right?
But I thought that it kind of felt like it was cool.
Yeah, I know. I was like, these guys are fun. I know. I liked them from that. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So it didn't really accomplish because I kind of liked them more. But they beat them in 10 seconds, right? They do all their fun moves. The main thing here is the Ass Boys, the Gun Club, whatever we call them, the Guns, walk out. And they said, hey, last week when we were talking, we said we wanted those titles. And Anthony Bones goes, well, let's ask the crowd if you deserve a title match. They say no. So he says no. And so then they're having their back and forth. And then Billy Gunn flips out, walks off. Like, you guys stink. I don't like this. Walks off. Austin Gunn then says, like, oh, walk out like you did when we were kids and you're a pill popper.
He delivered well there, though, right? Like turn your back and walk away. And the whole crowd's like, ooh.
Right, yeah. And then the pill popper thing was because he's like, drown your sorrows.
Yeah. Because Billy Gunn sold that too because he looked like he was about to whoop that kid's ass, right? And the kid's selling it, well, he won't look his dad in the eye. And he's like, no, you fucking look at me. You said it, right? You said it. Now look at me, right? Like, all of that good stuff. I know that feeling. I've been on the receiving and giving end of those kind of talks, right? Like where you're just like, no, hold on. You fucking tough now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So it ends with Billy Gunn saying, fine, you get your title shot, which then the Acclaim look at him sideways and say, what? We said no.
Is this what we're getting?
So what happens? So what happens here? Well, what happens?
I think we might get the Billy Gunn turns on the Scissor Me Daddy Ass crew and just takes the daddy ass portion out of it and maybe screws over the Acclaimed. And then we get, the Acclaimed have to win back their world titles, their world tag team titles. And then maybe we can now move on with the Acclaimed sans the daddy ass portion.
Which, do you think they still do the scissoring thing if he leaves? If he leaves, let's say he leaves, right? He joins the Gun Club. Do you think they still do the scissoring, or do you think they pivot to something else?
I would just stop making it the biggest focal point of your thing. I think you always that's their greeting. You might, throw it in and here and there, but I just don't know. Like we've talked about this, catchphrases only live for so long, right? So you better come up with something new, right? The New Day had to go through this, right? The New Day had to go through this where it was something new. And some things will stick and stay around long terms, like the pancakes did, but other things fall by the wayside, right? You got to keep throwing stuff up against the wall. And I think getting the daddy ass will help kind of, first of all, I mean, again, he probably can't keep the same schedule that these guys are going to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? I mean, he's maybe pill popping, so maybe he can, I don't allegedly.
Well,
but
let's take a quick side turn here because we'll get back into Dynamite, but that brings up a good point. AEW also announced that now, starting in March, they're going on the road. They're going to start doing non-televised house shows. How do you feel about that?
Interesting. House shows can be fun. I don't, I'm usually not there for them, right?
I am, if I want to be, right? I think this is going to be good because then we don't have to do. What I mean is, like, for example, I think it was actually in my memories on one of those social media apps. I think it was 9 years ago today. I went to a house show because the main event was a cage match between Randy Orton and
I was there with you.
Daniel Bryan. Yeah. And then the co-main
That was Super Bowl
event,
Sunday.
Exactly. And the co-main event was the Wyatt family versus the Shield. Like, I don't fucking watch that. You know what I mean? But if you're just going to give me person A, person B, whatever. But I think this is going to be good because then, fingers crossed, what we can do with these non-televised house shows is, hey, Griff Garrison, you're working on a new gimmick now. We're not going to give you AEW Dark YouTube time. Go fucking figure it out here. And then we can start telling better stories on Dark and Elevation because we're figuring out the shit off of TV or off of YouTube. You know what I mean? That's my hope for all of this, but we shall see.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into Dynamite here.
What's your initial thing here? Do the Guns come away with the titles? Is there a heel daddy ass now? Are we going full ass boys?
Here's what I'm honestly going to say. I don't give a shit. I don't care about this. Like, this is such a, like, I just don't think it's good for either team. I think you tried to shotgun the Guns as someone as a top team because they beat FTR, which on paper makes sense, but like wasn't actually executed that well, right? We didn't go away going, that team can really go with the best of them. The Acclaimed need someone to give them a new side of who they are because they keep doing someone needs to bring out the fucking, we're bleeding from our heads and we got to fight from underneath, and Jesus Christ, it's hard to be champs, isn't it, Anthony? It sure is, Max.
Yeah, we haven't got that since Swerve in Our Glory.
Well, and even that was more just like Swerve in Our Glory is having infighting and the Acclaim take benefit of it, right? Like, even though they don't have the credibility yet, but that's where if you had a Butcher and the Blade that was over here in the corner slicing motherfuckers' heads up, when it's the Acclaimed has the titles, now we can do Butcher and the Blade come for their fucking championships, and you go, oh shit. And now you have Max Caster bleeding from his face, or you have Anthony Bowens and Max Caster making sure they don't tap from a submission. You know, like, that's what both of these teams need. Is something
raps that he would have about Butcher and the Blade. Like, God, they'd be
but like, that's what the Acclaim need. And then the Guns just need, hey, we need to have you be the match of the night. Because I can't think of one fucking match they've ever had. Right? I know they beat FTR, but I can't tell you how or what. I just know that they did. You know what I mean? And so now we're throwing them together. It's like, this is wrong time.
I would say and Jeffrey still says they're good and on the verge of being great heels. I mean, verge of great, I don't know. I would say that their mic work, particularly like their heel mic work, has come along better than what you're saying here. Their in-ring sort of storytelling product. I will give you that, where like, hey man, everything sounds cool, ring the bell, we're kind of like, oh yeah, that's fine, and it just kind of falls flat.
And again, we are two of the people who say moves don't matter and all of that stuff, tell the story.
Because they don't.
Their stories aren't that interesting. They keep kind of saying the same fucking story. Mm-hmm. Hey dad, okay, but like, you can only tell
I don't
me dad.
hate it. I think this is a good enough story if it's just that. If this is the way we get Billy Gunn off and the Acclaim can now focus on kind of being the Acclaimed and maybe what their next chapter is, then it should be fine. But I would maybe have them win and then Acclaim like find a way to win it back, and then the Billy Gunn can go off and mentor his kids again, and they can go do their thing.
I wouldn't have them win the titles. I think the Guns as your champions, even for a week, is fucking bad right now. Maybe in 2025.
Yeah, well, but I think the thing is like, you do the clear, like, he picks a side, gives them the Kansas City cunt punt, the Guns roll up, they're all blah, and that's it. They like the next week on Dynamite, they're like, look, the fucking video, like, you guys are chumps, and then like, listen, Tony Khan already awarded us a match, we're doing this right now, and then they fucking win it back, and they're fucking dancing over, and fucking they have something in line to work on Billy Gunn, which gives the Ass Boys a new focus because you hurt our dad. Right? They have the Big Show comes in and fucking punches him or something. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, and all that's fine and all that, but I just don't want them to win the championship. Now that I'm thinking about it,
that's exactly how it's going to go down. I just fucking booked
it. Maybe you did. I just don't know if I'm going to care. This is where. Thinking about it, Butcher and the Blade are awesome, but you know who the team is that could have, but the team that really could have got this out of the Acclaimed if they didn't fuck up whatever happened backstage? Santana and Ortiz. That's the fucking team that has the credibility that would take out or attempt to take out the Acclaimed. Anymore. I know, that's what I'm saying. Unfortunate, because remember 2 years ago during the pandemic, 2020, AEW had the best tag team. They had FTR, Young Bucks, Santana and Ortiz. Best Friends were hot. All of these teams, and now you got Acclaimed and two fucking rookies that are just not. They're good because they haven't stuttered like they were at the first grabbing a microphone. That's the only thing that makes them good. Anyway, I don't mean to shit on them. I don't really care, to be honest.
Before we move on to the next thing, I want to remind everyone that we've got a shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees, search Spanish Announce Table, and buy one of them shits. That's it in a commercial.
Hey,
all right.
Speaking of people that have a new direction with their character, Jungle Boy Jack Perry is backstage, and he says, "Hey, Hook, appreciate you. I've been to the top of the mountain for the tag team division, and then I kind of did it. So, I don't want to do it. So I'll go on after singles championship." Couple questions here for you, Tim. One, does that piss off Hook? Two, if it doesn't, where are we going with old nice-haired Jack Perry?
Yeah, I noted that they specifically referred to him as Jack Perry several times. Sans the Jungle Boy moniker, which is probably good. Two, that's my question is, does Hook get mad about this, or do we this is a way for them to, we thought this was going to be a thing, and as we expressed to them, dumb idea, let's move on. But then what does Hook do, right? Because now Hook just looks like, you didn't even want to be friends with me, and that ain't a good look.
No, I'm saying, what does Jungle Boy do?
Because he says Jack Perry's going on. He said he was taking on.
But where? But I mean, no, he just said, I'm going for singles goals. So are you going to have him jump in there with Joe?
Probably.
That ain't good.
And that's the same story we just told tonight at the end of the show. I mean,
yeah. Or do you have him go up against Orange Cassidy, but then that's face and face?
I'm not sold on this Jack Perry being a thing either.
I love him. He's so dreamy.
Okay. I get that, you'll be able to sell that he's dreamy, right? And you're going to get that. But again, there isn't much in the story department here.
It's just a boy. He needs his dinosaur back. He's dreamy, okay? He's dreamy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's dreamy. Look.
Yeah. He should have went with the Varsity Blondes and done a whole 90210 gimmick. Back in high school.
That would actually be awesome. Yes. They should do a Halloween episode, and the three of them should do 90210. That would be perfect. He
gets the chops, right? He does the whole. Yeah.
That would be perfect. Yep. All right, so we'll see what happens. But it'll be interesting. I think.
But what does Hook do?
Gut tells me.
Was my question.
My gut says Hook says
evil Hook.
Well, my gut says Hook goes, "Oh, you don't think you need me?" And then now they feud. I think that's
it. He goes, "Oh, you think? Oh, you're just done with me because you've already done the tag team thing. I'm the old news, so now you're going to go on a singles run. Well, guess where it starts?
FTW
eats a chip, right? And then
yeah. So we'll see. I think they're going to feud. I think that is leading to something. So we'll see.
Currently, Jeffrey Sills, the tee does not come in black. We were allowed one design. Oh, can you select colors?
You can.
Pro Wrestling tees?
We don't have it. Yes, you can, but we don't have it.
But we don't. Yeah, we have to sell some more first before we are allowed to expand our offerings. Pro Wrestling
Tell
tees.
A friend.
All right, let's tell a friend. Tell all your friends, parentheses S.
There it is. So let's get back in the ring. Brian Cage takes on Takeshita.
Yes.
Takeshita.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian Cage takes on Takeshita, and it happened. What'd you think?
Yeah, again, we talked about Brian Cage. Looks good getting off the bus, can do all the things.
Oh, he's great in this.
Yeah. It just is that. It's like, okay, so he's there to lose to Takeshita, and this is another one where I'm like, hey, man, I don't think this is going to be a thing. I think they really want it to be a thing, and I don't see it.
Here's my thought. It's finally good to see Takeshita get a win because he fought Eddie Kingston, he fought Danielson, he fought everyone, and he's lost, right? I haven't seen him ever win a match on TV. I've seen him win on Dark and Elevation, but that doesn't count. So it was good to say, hey, he got a win on our flagship show. My thing is, later on in the night, he immediately just goes after MJF. So in my mind, if I have the pencil, right, have him beat MJF in a non-title match. It's a title eliminator, right? So later on in the night, they get separated next week. Title eliminator, Takeshita versus MJF. Just have Danielson distract MJF. Takeshita then gets a big win over MJF. But then having him win over Brian Cage, I don't know, because now both guys are just in no man's land in my book. So I thought it was good. The match itself was awesome, right? Like, it was very good, but the story just kind of was bland. And also, we'll get into Takeshita and Blackpool Combat Club and all that stuff in a little bit. But let's go to a tried and true method, Tim. Just like the women before the main event, we make sure our baby faces have to run a gauntlet, because just as we're seeing Bryan Danielson go through a gauntlet that MJF makes him do. Yes. Jericho Appreciation Society says, Ricky Starks, you got to go through the Garcia Guevara gauntlet. And I get it. It's fun because then later on in the night, Bryan Danielson took on Timothy Thatcher. It had stakes to it because Bryan Danielson had to win to advance. So we get a story, and it was cool that they wrestled. But you can't just lean on this whole gimmick of, and another babyface has to go through a gauntlet, and another babyface has to go through a gauntlet, because you're saying the same thing, you know?
I think what they often forget is it goes a long way to continue to making the early part of that gauntlet look really weak. You know what I mean? Like, and I know 2.0 has never been world beaters, right? They're heels that get by with major use of heel tactics, but it's just, you know, I love 2.0. I'm happy that I'll get to see them, right? Like, that'll be fun. But it's just, all right. The weird part for me is that Garcia Guevara gauntlet where they go, well, if you get through them, then it's going to be one of us. We'll tell you the night of. That will allow for them to have some sort of, you know what I mean, interaction in fighting, which is what they've been leaning into with this. So I guess it's a good enough setup for that. It just, it's weird, right? It's not the Garcia Guevara gauntlet. It's the Garcia or Guevara gauntlet. God, I can't even listen to this, the tongue twister. Yeah. I don't know. And we'll see, but it'll be probably fun in the moment at least.
But also, again, let's take a step back to look at the bigger picture. Who the fuck cares? We already saw Ricky Starks beat Jericho. It isn't as if Jericho beat him for a championship and now Ricky Starks needs that win. He already has it.
Correct. We've already done this. Yeah.
Jericho should be wanting to face him.
He should have to go through the Action Andretti fucking, Jungle Boy gauntlet.
Whatever. It's just, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And again, I've said this, I think I've said this every episode since MJF and Chris Jericho. But Jericho, make me miss you, man. I'm fucking exhausted by you. You're everywhere. And you ain't that good to be everywhere. You ain't MJF. You ain't Moxley. You ain't Hangman. Like, fucking go away for 3 months. God damn.
Yeah, keep going on the game shows. Like, keep doing that.
Go on your cruise and never come back. You know what I mean? Like, fucking just, I don't know, man. I'm exhausted.
Take your Trump friends with you and get out of here.
I'm just exhausted from Jericho. I just really am.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with you. I've had Jericho overload. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, now I see him and I almost want to turn the channel, which is not good because I love AEW. All right, so let's get into some more fun. We go to the Elite in a basketball gym. Why? Because who the fuck cares? And they say, hey, Top Flight, you got to win over the Young Bucks. Why don't you get your buddy old AR Fox and we'll do the Elite versus Top Flight and AR Fox. So it should be interesting.
Oh, Young Buck number 2 over there getting a swish.
Yeah, and then receding hairline Buck makes a jump shot and it goes in. And then here comes Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, and Ethan Page, which with Stokely Hathaway, which again, so are we saying that Matt Hardy and Ethan Page aren't friends, or we are saying
friends?
Because
Hardy seemed to be all on board.
Yeah, this was
with
all
this.
cool.
The thing that stuck out to me was Ethan Page, in his attempt to be stylish, had this shirt that was like half solid and half striped, but now he looked like the referee for the basketball match that the Young Bucks were having.
Yeah, and I get it. Isaiah Cassidy wanted to do his little moan, and he did the moan.
Which I agree. That's some good heat stuff. That is why
funny.
are you doing that?
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
But I don't understand any of it. I don't fucking get
I don't either.
Any of what's happening.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't mind seeing the Elite in the basketball thing looking zany, because that's them, right? Like, we see them in weird locations doing weird things, and they do it all under the pretense of like you're not as cool as us to be doing this right now, right? And you're just kind of like, but that's not cool, right? Like, whatever you're doing here is weird. So I like that, but it was just weird that now here come in. So Ethan Page and that crew track them down to the local gym that they were playing ball in, or like, what happened here, right? Like, it was interesting.
Wasn't great. But it was fun that Excalibur dunked on, I believe it was Stokely Hathaway, or maybe it was Don Callis, because one of them mentioned NFTs, and Excalibur, without missing a beat, is like, you sell the other fucking dorks, is they think NFT's still a thing.
Right, yeah. The announcers always have the most fun. Like, they shit on Tony Schiavone for being old this episode. He told Excalibur when Hangman threw beer in Moxley's face, he's like, was that a cold one or whatever? He's like, yeah. And he's like, calm down. He's like, stop, sit back down, Excalibur. Like, we got a show to do. Like, just leaning into folks. I love the chemistry they've got now that we've gotten, JR to kind of fade to the background and.
Yep.
And
it's good. They're really fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're really fun. All right. So when we get back into the ring here, we get Bryan Danielson taking on, as mentioned before, Timothy Thatcher. This is Thatcher's AEW debut. And this was fun.
Yeah. I think it got overshadowed by the opening match. I think we would have thought this was great if we hadn't already seen that.
I agree. That's a great point. I also think if I didn't know the outcome, that's another thing. I never thought Danielson was going to lose this match.
Right.
So, right? Like, when I know the outcome, I'm going to check out. You could even do 10 false finishes. I'm kind of going to be like, I'm out.
Have you ever seen a gauntlet, either a single night gauntlet or a multi-night gauntlet, which is essentially what this thing is, where the person didn't complete it? Can you remember a one? Can you remember a single one?
No. The only time a gauntlet worked where it was like, oh shit, this is awesome, was when I believe it was the New Day had to go through a gauntlet for Kofi.
Yes.
And the Usos came out and were like, no, we get it, bro. We'll lay down. And they just forfeited.
Yeah.
That
was crazy. They still won the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Is even in that moment, which was the coolest gauntlet moment in pro wrestling history.
Yeah.
But we've never seen one fail. And that's why, like you said, we just know, right? When it's like, you've got to get through these 4 people. Show me somebody fail at the second, right? Like, come on, right? Like, there's stories there to be told. It's real. It's natural, right? Like, ask Cincinnati fans how they feel about, like, thinking they were going to run the playoff gauntlet and make it to the Super Bowl for a second year in a row. And it just didn't happen, right? Like, because that's real. Oh, no. Oh, no. And now Joe Mixon's getting arrested for fucking threatening to shoot people. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens in real life. You just fall apart.
Yeah. And now you got to pay all those fucking people and you have no rings to show for it. You fucking losers. Oh, God. Oh, hey, Asperger's Burrow back there just throwing dimes to the fucking Kansas City Chiefs. How many touchdowns did he have in that game? Fucking 0.
Yeah, I love how they were like, he never gets rattled in the moment. Like, sure, he didn't get rattled, but he sure fucking calmly threw 2 fucking picks. So cool. He did it with such suave. Right?
Jamar Chase, you fucking small face prick. Okay, so like we said, Bryan Danielson wins, but MJF comes out because he thinks he's going to cost Bryan Danielson the match. And then Takeshita comes out and he fucking gets involved, which again. So what? So are we recruiting this guy to be in Blackpool Combat Club? Because it seems like he's Danielson's young boy because now he's fighting Brian Cage on behalf of him.
For me, it's enough of the story of just that, like, he got into it with MJF somehow, however that started, and now he's taking offense to what MJF is saying, and he's like, fuck you, I'm going to meet you where you are. And then he was just like, he knew, hey, this match is going to happen. MJF's going to come out and try to fuck with him. I'm going to be there to get him, right? So that's fine to me. And then I think they did a good job of the back brawl, right? Like, I thought it looked like a decent,
The backstage brawl is great. The story doesn't make any sense because what we kept saying, because what Excalibur said is, this is Takeshita is Bryan Danielson's favorite wrestler. That's why he's fighting Brian Cage, and that's why he's helping him here. And it's like, the dude has a group. Where's Willer Yuta?
Yeah.
Where's his bitch ass?
To me, it's just, it should have been more of like, he just happened to be somebody's opponent or whatever, right? And then like, that they happened to cross paths and MJF was like, oops, you were collateral damage. Sorry, bro. Right? And then that's how he got involved. Would have been better. You're right. Like, why he's involved in it is dumb. Or
why the Blackpool Combat Club are just MIA completely. They're not even saying like, hey, Danielson, who's this guy that's helping you? Should he be a member of this group? Let's talk about it. Just fucking nothing.
Yeah, see, MJF is stalking you and trying to put out bounties on your head. Will be nowhere around whenever you get in trouble.
Yeah. But Moxley might fight Hangman after this match, so let's get in there quick.
You're the GOAT, guy. You're the GOAT, bro.
Yeah, sure doesn't seem like it. So as mentioned before, they get a backstage brawl, and it's announced next week that those two will face off. It should be fun. Then we get kind of a throwaway segment. Swerve Strickland, coolest wrestler in pro wrestling, gets regulated to Rampage. He's taking on Brian Pillman Jr. That'll really get people.
It was a weird promo, right? He's like, fuck Dustin Rhodes out here, and I've got an issue with that family, and fuck that whole family, and here's the whole reason why I fuck, like, here's the whole backstory why fuck that family. Yeah, but neither of them are around, so like, here's somebody else who comes from a wrestling family. It's like, wait, hold on, what?
Yeah,
that was really a mess for me.
And Tattoo Face, his name is Trench. Like Trench, Naughty by Nature. Or
Trench? Was it Trench or Trench?
No, Trench. I don't fucking know. Trench. But that's Naughty by Nature. Remember? OPP. You know me? That's his fucking name.
I thought that was Trench.
Trench. I'm pretty sure it's Trench. We don't fact check. Anyhow, stupid fucking name. That guy sucks. Then we go backstage and MJF, excuse me, tries to pay off Roosh because he's taking on Bryan Danielson next week. It was a good segment, but
except we've done it. We've done it a lot
with Prince Nana. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing is like, he delivers it well, right? Like, he delivers it great. He's shitting on everybody in the room. He's still an asshole to those folks, but he's like, hey, listen, we're doing business here, right? Like, fuck you. You don't got to like me. You just got to fucking do the thing I'm paying you for. And he does that well. He does it very well, but it's just, it's over and over and over and over.
You know how I would have done this one a little bit different just to give a new wrinkle? Have him walk in there with Mark Sterling. Have MJF cut all the same things, but it's Mark Sterling holds the money. Maybe Mark Sterling and the assistant, Jose, kind of have a side eye, like, I don't trust you from past dealings. And it's just something a little bit different because this was legitimately the same fucking thing we did with Brian Cage and Prince Nana 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So, I don't know. Another thing that we've done a million times is it's right before the main event, Tim. So you know what that means.
Oh, I know what time it is. It's time for the women.
And now, it's time.
They delivered, though.
But it's the same fucking match, Tim.
It is the same match. But they did a good match.
Stop doing this, man. So
Trench is with Swerve. Tretch was with Naughty by Nature. Jeffrey Sills in the chat, fact checking for us. Thanks.
Oh, should he be our fact checker for Spanish Announce Table? There you go.
Fill in when he wants fact checker.
There it is.
We promise no fact checks, but sometimes.
But you have an official title.
Facts may be checked. Yeah.
The official maybe facts checker of the Spanish announce table.
Yeah,
Jeffrey
sometimes
Seals.
when he wants.
There it is.
Yeah.
So we have Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill. And it's fucking the same thing. Rinse, repeat.
I do like, though, that, like, I do like how, yes, okay, we're going 15-0. She's the queen. She's beating everybody up. But we still have this idea that, like, it's not that she's just, Andre the Giant, elbow to this person's face, fling him over a ring, hold him down, right? Like, people are close. We're to believe Red Velvet would have won if the refs had not been distracted. So I like that, and I feel like we're getting close to that point of, okay, we got her 15-0. Somebody's going to have to knock Jade off, or she's got to somehow relinquish this title and do something next. So what is that?
There you go. So I had challenged you before we recorded, and I said, hey, I'm going to challenge you here. Do something with this. Because here's my biggest beef. Is not the match. The match itself was good. They've wrestled 4 fucking times. Of the 50 matches, I believe it's been 4 times. It's been Red Velvet who's lost. First, 50, and I think it was like 30-something in another one. So, like...
You know what I would do? Is I would...
Bow Wow beat her?
I would integrate her. I would have her at this point be like, look, I'm 15-0, TNT title, whatever. Like, we eventually, maybe not right away at the start of the storyline, but she's maybe just going to relinquish that thing, right? I'm not even going to have anybody beat her. Or maybe one person in this here. But we later, we start seeing this AEW original women versus the WWE women, right? We're going to have this WWE team looking strong, and I think the surprise last member of these AEW originals is going to be Jade Cargill, who sort of wins the match for them, but gets personally up in maybe Saraya's face, right? So now we get Saraya and the Toni Storm aspect with Jade, and maybe that's how we get her into this, like, world title picture, and then maybe somehow now onto, like, the Jamie haters or the whatever after we move that. That's maybe how I would transition her out of there loosely. She gets involved into that. We start going like, yay, AEW original. She's against the heels in there. I think that's the easiest transition to take her from, because she's kind of been a heel, Like, we're all cheering her, and we all like her, and she's got her kid, and we're all like, yeah, but, like, she does the heel thing,
Yeah,
so it's kind of weird.
The other thing is, I can't really boo you that much when your crying daughter wants to be held and you hold her as you walk backstage after being victorious.
Yeah. So I even like clean. That. Okay, so here she joins that match, right? Let's say we have a 4-on-4 or whatever it is. She's the winner, but she, like, kind of takes a personal, like, slap fest with Saraya. So now her and Saraya are beefing post that match. Saraya maybe beats her for the TNT title with help of Toni Storm, right? And now she's facing Toni Storm, and then she's whatever. She's like, and she's blah, blah, blah. And then, like, they end that, right? Like, they do something heelish, but let's say Britt Baker, who was, Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, who were her friends on that side, now suddenly turn on her again, right? And now we've got Jade face, and she's, like, looking at Jamie Hayter and the heel Britt Baker, who have now turned on her. Right, this takes a while. It sounds like we're gonna have to build this over time, but then she can kind of go like, "All right, hater, you think you're the big bad, tough, whatever? Let's do this." Right?
Yeah, she just flexes on them bitches. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we're talking about this whole AEW originals, WWE X women, and we get backstage and we're checking in on Britt Baker because, again, she got beat up. And Jamie Hayter's standing there with her. And then out of nowhere, Ruby Soho comes up and is like, hey, are you okay? And Britt Baker's like, shut the fuck up. Go, get it, dumbass.
Get lost.
So what do you make of this? Yeah, what do you make of this whole thing?
I kind of feel like Ruby Soho is going to be with the Saraya and the Toni Storm, but I think we're going to get that, like, I'm earning your trust a la Sami Zayn Bloodline thing, but then, like, Ruby is going to turn, but maybe even Jamie Hayter still sees it coming, right? Or not Hayter, but Britt Baker or something, right? Like, maybe she never really did trust her, and then in the moment, right, she's there to kind of catch it as it happens, like something along those lines. But I think Ruby is going to be with it would be the best thing for her character. Yeah, and it makes sense.
If she's just sympathetic, stands next to Britt Baker, that does nothing because she'll get overshadowed. Yeah. So,
but if she pulls a Kurt Angle is with ECW, right, or Team ECW or whatever that was, I would have just had her.
I would have just had her in this segment walk up, be like, "Hey, I saw what happened. that sure sucks, doesn't it? And just
Yeah.
walk off. Doesn't say good or bad.
Yeah.
Just like, man, that
At least
sucks.
you can fix your own teeth if they fucked them up, huh?
But I'm saying not even cut her down. Just like, yeah, I saw what happened. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
She didn't say, like,
Yeah.
I just saw it.
Like, good.
Letting you know.
Glad you fucking saw it. It was on
Right.
broadcast on national television, bitch.
Yeah. Just letting you know. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And then they go,
Yeah, just letting you know I saw it.
Yeah, I would have done something like that. But again, I'm better than they are. Then we get to the main event. And this shit was fucking brutal. And awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. Christ almighty, Tim. The fucking dead boy walks out with a thumbtack jacket on and just goes like, catch me, Joe.
Just right into it. Yeah. We talked about this. He hits the gate running, like short of anybody but the Ultimate Warrior, right? Like he just
hold me, Joe.
Hits the gate, and he is the modern day Mick Foley, and where he's going to go out there and he's going to throw himself around in a very dangerous manner to where it's borderline. We're like, dude, please don't do this. Like, we appreciate you're doing this for entertainment, but maybe dial it back, right? Like he's pushing that envelope. And Joe here sold this as one of his toughest acts in his career as well, to finally put this kid down. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it was a one-sided ass whooping with some great moments from Darby Allin. It wasn't like we could go through the moments, and most of the moments are, and then Joe fucked him up this way.
Yeah, no, it was one-sided, but he kept having to do something. He kept having to hammer him. He's like, God damn it, kid. What the fuck? Stay down.
Because even Darby Allin cuts the fucking ring up, exposes the wood, just to get a Bronco Buster on the fucking wood. And
that was the first time we've seen that in AEW, the ring exposed. I can't remember.
I feel like the hardcore match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley at a Double or Nothing, maybe. But that's also a guess. Jeffrey Stills, look that up for us if you want. But Samoa Joe gets the victory, does the Bronco Buster on the exposed wood. Darby Allin takes the cover. He loses. Your new king of television now, because he is both your Ring of Honor television champion and your TNT champion, is Samoa Joe. And before he could even wipe the sweat off of his forehead, Wardlow comes out. Tim, Wardlow's back.
With his middle-aged job haircut now. Yeah. Mr. Wardlow.
He should have shaved his head if he's going to do anything.
I don't know, man. I mean, again, Wardlow looks great kicking open the curtains and, screaming to the crowd. And so it looks great when the crowd's bought in. But again, we've told the story of Wardlow and Joe, haven't we? Like,
Here's my biggest gripe with Wardlow, and I'm going to say this knowing full well I sound like a hypocrite, because one of my favorite pro wrestlers is Taz, who was a world beater at 5'2", right? Like he'd beat up Bam Bam Bigelow. He'd beat up 911. He'd take Triple H to the limit in WWE, but he was 5'2", right? My biggest gripe with Wardlow is he does the flexing and the big man stuff, and he's not even in the top 10 of biggest fucking guys in AEW, let alone if he were to go to the other side of the pond and go to WWE, then he's looking like fucking Ricochet. Like, he ain't
Jeffrey
big.
Sills in the chat reminds us that he says, I'm telling you, he's test now. He's test.
With a better story. That story that he told with MJF is really good. It was really good.
Better origin story than Test, yes.
Yes, yeah, but that was it. It feels like I just think he needs to switch it up, because if you're going to tell me he's the biggest, strongest, fastest, and then Powerhouse Hobbs walks out and goes, no, he's not. You're like, oh yeah, no, he's not.
He's not even bigger than
Joe. Because he also doesn't do moves.
Yeah.
Let's use Taz as the example, right? Taz was doing suplexes that was legitimately throwing the Bam Bams and the Shane Douglases.
He told me he was pound for pound the strongest guy in AEW, and that even though he's smaller, man, he comes out and he flings a guy across the ring or whatever. But that ain't happening either.
Well, and Claudio does that. So it's
Yeah.
like, you ain't stronger than Claudio. So this is where it's like, that's what's falling flat, is you keep telling me, but there's no moveset that supports that. And also you don't look it either.
Well, and the thing with the Powerbomb Symphony is, man, it takes so long to do, right? the Powerbomb, you got to roll them up, you got to get them up, you got to do the thing, and then you.
Well, when he gets on a roll, a roll and he like flips
Yeah.
him and he's doing it, that's pretty cool. But again, he can't do that to Satnam Singh. He can't fucking do that to Powerhouse Hobbs. So like, what has it always been said in pro wrestling about a finisher? You need to do it to everyone. For it to be really fucking great, it needs to be done to everyone. He ain't doing a powerbomb symphony of 3 powerbombs in a row to Joe or to Satnam Singh or Claudio or, you know, any of these big fuckers.
Jeffrey Sill says, you give him a mid-card title and you cut his hair. Sounds like Test to me.
I mean, you might be right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you don't want to be Test.
2.0.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you don't want to be Test, you got to do something now.
He's retest. He's retest.
I like that.
All right.
So that's your AEW Dynamite. I think, again, the Darby Allin Samoa Joe match was off the charts insanity.
Oh, yeah.
The Hangman John Moxley was the best match of the week, just from like a storyline and also, you know, physicality standpoint. And then you had some stuff in the middle. That's kind of how I felt about this, but we'll see how it goes moving forward.
I thought we got some good storyline advancements, even in things that maybe weren't the greatest. But I think, I think we got some real, you know, to steal a phrase from the kiddos, bangers of some matches. And I thought we did good. I thought this was a solid A show, though. I thought they did real good here.
I think we need something to hook us, though. I think the gauntlet stuff is done. After this Revolution thing that we do with apparently both Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson, put that on ice for a while. But we need something, you know, when, like, for example, going into, I can't remember, Full Gear, I think was a pay-per-view, but you had Eddie Kingston and CM Punk talking shit, and it caught us off guard. And then we were hooked as soon as they said, like, they're going to be in the ring next. We're like, oh, fuck yeah, right? And Hangman and John Moxley kind of have something like that. We're like, oh, shit, something's going to happen storyline and maybe, you know, real here, but it needs to be turned up a level. There's just nothing really that says, like, watch next week because is going to happen. Right? Like, that's what they need. They need a hook here to really get going for this pay-per-view.
Well, and we need you to hook yourself to us. So follow us on the YouTube, get those notifications for when we go live, which is typically Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays, sometimes 7 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock, whatever, right? So get the notifications. That way you won't ever miss a spot. And you can always watch us live later. You can subscribe to the podcast, go to Pro Wrestling Tees, get yourself a shirt, Spanish Announce Table. And we will just leave you with this. In case you didn't see it, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
The Spanish Announce Table.